Chosen one, stop for a second. Whatever you were doing, whatever you were about to click, whatever you were about to tell yourself, I'll watch something else. I'll come back later. This is probably not for me. I need you to pause. Don't scroll. Listen closely. Because if you are hearing this right now, it is not random. It is not an accident. It is not some lucky algorithm moment. This is a divine interruption. And I'm going to say this the way your spirit already knows it. January 12th, January 13th, and January 14th are not ordinary dates. They are a narrow, God-set window, a portal, a pressure point in time, a set-apart stretch where heaven leans in closer than usual, not because God is far the rest of the year, but because these days are marked for a shift in your trajectory. And yes, you felt it. Maybe you couldn't explain it to anyone without sounding dramatic. Maybe you tried to ignore it, tried to rationalize it, tried to push through like you always do. But deep down, you've been sensing something. A strange tightness, a weight in the chest, a restlessness that doesn't match the moment, a feeling like your spirit is standing on tiptoe, waiting for something to break. That's not you being too sensitive. That's not you overthinking. That's your spirit picking up on movement. And the reason it feels intense is because you are not the only one aware of it. The enemy knows about these shifts too. That's why the pressure increased right before the breakthrough. That's why the sleep got weird. That's why people started testing you out of nowhere over small things. That's why your mind felt crowded, like you couldn't get one clean, quiet thought without something interrupting it. Because you're nearing a moment the enemy cannot stop. He can only try to distract you. And this is where I need to be very clear with you. This is not fear. This is not doom. This is not me trying to scare you. This is God giving you a heads up so you don't walk into these days unaware and waste the window. Because you can sleepwalk through a miracle season. You can be so busy surviving that you miss the exit ramp that was meant to lead you out. And I don't want that for you. He doesn't want that for you. That is why you are here. Right now, take a breath. Not a rushed breath, a real one. In through the nose. Hold it, and let it go. Let your jaw unclench. Let your shoulders drop. If you've been carrying stress in your body, you might notice it the most in your neck, your chest, your stomach, like your muscles have been bracing for impact. And that bracing is proof. It's proof your spirit has been detecting the shift before your mind could explain it. Stay with me, because I'm going to walk you through what these 3 days represent, what the enemy tries to do in each one, and how to position yourself so you don't just get through it. You cross over, not with panic, with authority. Now, I need to say something that might hit you deeply. You have been stuck in cycles that you prayed would break years ago. Not because you didn't pray enough. Not because you didn't try hard enough. Not because God forgot. But because some cycles don't break with effort. They break with timing. And timing is a language God speaks fluently. There are seasons where you can push and push and push and still feel like you're running in place. Then there are moments where one decision, one alignment, one shift in posture changes the next 12 months. These days, January 12th, 13th, and 14th are that kind of moment. And I know you might be thinking, why do I always feel like I'm fighting so hard just to get what others get easily? You've asked that in the quiet. You've asked that in the car. You've asked that in bed at night when you're staring at the ceiling, feeling that ache in your chest that no one sees. And this is what I need you to understand. The reason it's been heavy is because you're not just living for you. You are carrying something bigger. You are a chain breaker. That's not a cute phrase. That's a spiritual job description. It means you're the one who gets targeted before the breakthrough. It means you're the one who feels the pressure before the family line gets free. It means you're the one who goes through the fire first, so the ones behind you don't have to burn the same way. And because you're built like that, your shifts are not small. When your life turns, It turns with weight. It turns with consequence. It turns with impact. So these dates aren't just days. They are a ladder. 4, 5, 6. Progression. Movement. You've been circling the same mountain, and your spirit is tired of round trips. You've been fighting the same patterns: money stress, family tension, emotional exhaustion, people misunderstanding you, doors opening, then closing, progress starting, then stalling, and you started wondering, is my life always going to be almost healed, almost stable, almost free, almost seen, almost there? Listen closely. That almost has been an assignment, and these dates are a confrontation. Let me paint it in a way your spirit will recognize. Think about the last few days leading up to this window. Did something small but irritating happen? Something broke unexpectedly. Something leaked. Something went missing. A random expense. A tiny problem that felt bigger than it should have. It's like the enemy couldn't stop the big shift, so he tried to create a pile of small messes to keep you busy, to keep you annoyed, to keep you reacting. Because reaction is how the enemy steers you without touching you. If he can get your mouth to speak frustration, your heart to lock into bitterness, your mind to spiral into fear, he doesn't have to block the blessing. He just has to get you out of alignment. And that's why this message matters. Because these days are not just about what happens to you. They're about what happens in you. And I need you to hear me say this gently, but firmly. You can't carry a new season with an old posture. You can't walk into a portal of breakthrough while still wearing the coat of heaviness you picked up in the last season. So right now, in your imagination, I want you to picture it. A heavy gray coat on your shoulders. This coat is confusion, fatigue, the I'm trying feeling, the silent grief you don't talk about, the constant bracing. Now imagine you sliding it off your shoulders and letting it drop to the floor. Feel the weight lift. If you're sensitive, you might actually feel a little loosening in your chest right now, like the pressure eases for a moment. That is not you being dramatic. That's your body responding to truth, because the heaviness never belonged to you. It was placed on you to slow you down before the finish line, and you are at the finish line of a cycle. So here is the setup. January 12th is about foundation. January 13th is about shift. January 14th is about confrontation and completion. Not chaos, completion. And before you shut down because you've heard people talk about dates and numbers and you don't want anything weird, listen, this is not about superstition. This is about spiritual pattern. God works in order. He works in seasons. He works in steps. And your life has been craving structure because you're trying to carry something heavy without a stable base. That changes now. Let me bring you into a quick moment, a small scene, like a memory your spirit can step into. You're in a room that should feel safe, but it doesn't. Not because someone is attacking you out loud, but because there's this constant tension in the air. You sit down and you try to relax, and your body won't let you. Your phone lights up, and your stomach tightens before you even read the message. You hear a sound, maybe a door closing, maybe the refrigerator humming, maybe a car outside, and for some reason your heart jumps. You don't even know why, and you tell yourself, I'm fine. But you're not fine. You're functioning. You're pushing through. You're surviving. And you've been doing that for so long that you forgot what peace feels like. Now imagine this. Same room, same chair, same phone. But the air feels different. Warm, not heavy. Quiet, not tense. Your chest isn't braced. Your shoulders aren't up by your ears. You look at your phone, and you don't feel dread. You feel calm. Not because you have all the answers, because you have covering. That is what God is trying to bring you into. Not a life with no responsibilities, but a life with peace in the middle of them. And these 3 days are part of that transition. So here's what I'm asking you to do right now. Not later. Right now. Treat this moment like a signal flare, like heaven tapped you on the shoulder and said, "Pay attention." Because if you treat these days like any other days, you may end up repeating an old loop. But if you align, if you stay steady, you're going to watch something break. Not you. The cycle, the almost, the delay, the heaviness. And yes, the enemy will try to make these days feel ordinary, or stressful, or busy, or emotional. But the truth is, the more resistance you feel, the closer you are to release. So stay with me, because we're going to go day by day. And when we get to the end, I'm going to help you seal this, so you're not just inspired, you're positioned. Now, let's talk about you. Not the version of you people see. Not the version of you that shows up, smiles, handles it, answers the texts, pays the bills, keeps the peace, keeps moving. I mean the version of you that goes quiet when the room is finally still. The version of you that sits in the bathroom for an extra minute because it's the only place no one asks you for anything. The version of you that has cried without making a sound because you didn't want anyone to hear. Because you've been carrying this alone in ways people don't understand. And the reason this message hits you so deeply is because it's naming what you couldn't name. You've been under pressure, spiritual pressure, life pressure, identity pressure. Not the kind that comes from one big dramatic crisis, but the kind that comes from a slow grind, 1,000 tiny waits, 1,000 little disappointments, 1,000 moments where you thought, okay, now it's going to change, and then you had to keep waiting. You've been trying to stay faithful while feeling tired, trying to keep hope alive while your reality kept challenging it, trying to act like you're okay while your spirit was whispering, how much longer? And I need you to hear this without argument inside your head. You are not weak for feeling tired. You are not broken for needing reassurance. You are not failing because you had days where you felt numb. That numbness was a shield, because if you felt everything you've been holding back all at once, it would have knocked the wind out of you. So your system adapted. You got quiet, you got strong, you got used to carrying, but you were never meant to carry everything by yourself. That's why God interrupts. Because sometimes the strongest people don't ask for help. They just keep going. And heaven is saying, enough. Let me hold you for a minute. Right now you might feel a strange calm settling in. Like the room got quieter even if nothing changed. That's what happens when truth hits your nervous system. You stop bracing, and your spirit exhales. Listen closely. January 12th, 13th, and 14th aren't just about what God is doing around you. They're about what God is doing within you. Because the breakthrough you've been asking for isn't just a check, or a phone call, or an opportunity. It's a restoration of your inner foundation. So you stop living like your life could collapse any second. You stop waking up with dread. You stop expecting bad news. You stop believing that peace is for other people. That's what's shifting. Now let's go into January 12th. January 12th is foundation. And the enemy hates foundation, because foundation is what makes you unshakable. If he can keep you unstable emotionally, you'll sabotage what God is building. If he can keep you reactive, you'll crack the very cement God is trying to pour. So the first thing you need to know about January 12th is this. You will be tested. Not with something huge, with something petty. something that shouldn't matter, but suddenly feels like it matters. A tone, a look, a text, a comment, a mess, a delay, a small disrespect, and it'll feel like your body wants to react before your spirit can catch up. That's the test. Will you stay grounded, or will you get pulled into the swirl? Because your foundation isn't proven in calm weather. It's proven when the wind tries to push you. So, here's the instruction for January 12th. You do not have to win every argument. You do not have to correct every misunderstanding. You do not have to explain your heart to someone committed to misreading you. On January 12th, your victory is steadiness. I want you to remember, some battles are designed to drain you, not defeat you. They want your energy. They want your focus. They want your peace. So on the foundation day, you choose to be immovable, and you're going to need a tool for that because you're human. So here's something simple. When you feel that heat rising, when you feel that pressure in your chest, that "I'm about to say something" feeling, I want you to visualize an anchor dropping from your heart, heavy, solid, down into the earth, and in your mind say, "I am rooted, I am grounded, I am not moved." You might feel your breathing slow down. You might feel the tightness soften. That's not imaginary. That's regulation. That's your spirit taking the wheel back. Because the enemy's script depends on your reaction. And when you don't react, you break his script. Now, January 13th. January 13th is shift, wind, movement, change. And change is tricky, because even when you want it, it can still scare you. You've prayed for a new season, but your nervous system has been trained by the old one. So when the door actually opens, part of you wants to run back to the familiar pain, because at least it's predictable. That is why January 13th is a day where you might feel restless. You might feel like cleaning, organizing, deleting, unfollowing, throwing things out. You might feel like you can't sit still. That's not random. That's the Spirit of God stirring what has been stagnant. But here's the trap of January 13th. Fear of the unknown. A sudden pivot. A plan changing. A cancellation. A delay. Or even an opportunity that feels too big. And your mind will try to interpret the pivot as a problem. But often the pivot is protection. Often the closed door is redirection. Often the delay is God saving you from something you couldn't see. So your instruction for January 13th is this: do not force what's not flowing. If it stops, let it stop. If it leaves, let it leave. If it shifts, let it shift. Because God is clearing the deck. He's moving pieces. He's rearranging. And your job is not to panic and grab the old. Your job is to stay surrendered. Here's a small posture shift that matters. When you feel that flutter in your stomach, that nervous energy, imagine your hands unclenching. Imagine your palms turning upward, from gripping to receiving. That is surrender. And surrender is not weakness, it's trust. Now, January 14th. January 14th is where the confrontation happens. It's the day the enemy tries to block you at the threshold, because you're close enough that he can feel it. And this is where the spirit of almost shows up. That pattern you know too well. Almost there. Then something happens. Almost stable. Then an unexpected expense. Almost healed. Then an old wound gets poked. Almost promoted. Then the company changes things. Almost free. Then the same temptation returns. That almost isn't your personality. It's been a spiritual pressure point. And on January 14th, it tries one last time. Not to destroy you, just to make you quit. To make you say, forget it. to make you spiral, to make you complain, to make you agree with failure. Because agreement is power, and your mouth has been more powerful than you realized. So here is what I want you to understand. January 14th is not meant to break you. It's meant to expose what's been blocking you, so you can finally stop fighting shadows and start walking through the open door. Let me bring you into another tiny vignette, something your spirit will recognize. It's early morning. The light coming through the window is that pale, quiet kind. You're holding your phone, and you're staring at the screen, not even reading anything, just staring, because you feel that heavy sense again. Like you're behind, like you're late, like you're about to mess something up. And in that moment you whisper, maybe not out loud, but inside, God, I can't do another year like this. And you feel tears push up fast, surprising you. And right when you're about to sink into the familiar despair, something shifts. Not a loud voice, not a dramatic sign, just a steady thought that doesn't sound like fear. Hold on. Don't react. Stay steady. You're closer than you think. That is God. That is how He speaks to you sometimes. A calm that cuts through panic. A steadiness that doesn't match your circumstances. That's what you're being invited into. So for January 14th, your instruction is simple, but it's not easy. Do not leak your power through complaining, because complaining is agreement with the assignment. And I'm not shaming you. You've had reasons to be frustrated. But this is a strategic moment, and strategy requires discipline. So when something goes wrong, when the coffee spills, when the car hesitates, when the phone glitches, when someone tests you, your instinct will be to vent. Instead, you do a flash prayer, a one-sentence seal. God, I seal this moment. I will not be pulled off course. That's it. No drama, no spiral. You cut the enemy's feed, because he can't read your mind, but he monitors your mouth. So in this window, you keep your words clean. You keep your focus tight. You keep your spirit steady. And you will watch what tries to block you lose its grip. Stay with me, because in the next part, we're going to release the guilt that's been sitting on you like a stone. Guilt that has made you feel disqualified. And when that guilt lifts, the flow returns. Now we have to deal with something that has been quietly sabotaging you. Not because you're not faithful, not because you don't love God, not because you don't want to move forward, but because you've been carrying guilt like a private punishment. And guilt is heavy. Guilt makes you second-guess every good thing. Guilt makes you feel like you have to earn what God already intended. Guilt makes you shrink right when you're supposed to stand tall. So listen closely, because this part is going to feel like someone turning on a light in a room you've been living in half dark. The enemy couldn't stop your calling, so he tried to poison your confidence. He tried to make you believe you were too much for blessings, too flawed, too inconsistent, too emotional, too late, too messed up. And you've been replaying old moments in your head like they're evidence against you. Things you said, things you did, people you trusted, times you didn't speak up, times you did speak up and wish you hadn't, opportunities you missed, relationships that fell apart. And you've been thinking, if I had been better, maybe my life would look different. But here's the truth your spirit needs. You were learning. You were surviving. You were doing the best you could with what you knew at the time. And God is not shocked by your story. He was there in every messy chapter. He was there when you cried in the dark and didn't even know what to pray. He was there when you smiled in public and broke in private. He was there when you tried to hold your life together with shaking hands. So why have you been punishing yourself? Because guilt feels like control. If you blame yourself, it creates the illusion that you could have controlled everything. But there are things you could not control, There were battles you did not choose. There were wounds you did not ask for. There were people who did not love you correctly, and you can't keep paying for what wasn't yours to carry. This is where forgiveness comes in, not a soft concept, but a spiritual release, because the more you hold guilt, the more you stay tethered to the old. And remember what we said, the spirit of almost pulls you back with invisible rope. Guilt is one of the ropes, so right now, we're cutting it. Not with self-help phrases, with truth. Let's talk about the hidden truth that you need to hear. The enemy loves using your past as a fake prophecy. He'll take an old failure and whisper, "See, this is who you are. This is how it always goes." He'll take an old rejection and whisper, "See, you're not chosen. You're not worthy." He'll take an old mistake and whisper, "See, God won't do it for you." But that's not prophecy. That's manipulation. And the fact that you still feel convicted about what happened is proof your heart is alive. Hard hearts don't feel remorse. Hard hearts don't care. So you're not disqualified. You're sensitive. You're aware. You're growing. Now this is where we perform a spiritual surgery. I want you to imagine the rope again, thick, dark, tight around your waist. It stretches behind you into the past. It connects you to failure, to disappointment, to generational patterns, to almost, to not yet, to maybe next time. Now picture God placing something in your hand, not a weapon of rage, a weapon of light, a clean, bright blade. And in your imagination you turn and you cut the rope, hear it snap, feel the sudden release in your body, like your stomach unclenches, like your spine straightens a little, like your chest gets more air. That is what spiritual release feels like. It's not always emotional fireworks. Sometimes it's quiet. Sometimes it's a deep exhale. Sometimes it's a calm settling over you. And if you're feeling that right now, don't dismiss it. That's your spirit responding to freedom. Now I want to confront another layer of guilt you've carried. The guilt of being tired. The guilt of not being as strong lately. The guilt of having days where you couldn't worship, couldn't pray, couldn't stay motivated. You told yourself, "What's wrong with me?" Nothing is wrong with you. You were depleted. You were under pressure. You were carrying more than people knew. And God is not sitting in heaven counting how many times you failed to feel inspired. He's watching your heart. He's watching you keep going even when you feel empty. That matters. Now, there's also relational guilt. Some of you still feel guilty about cutting people off, or wanting to, or realizing that someone you loved wasn't safe for you, and you keep thinking, maybe I'm the problem. Listen closely. Protecting your peace is not cruelty. Setting boundaries is not betrayal. Choosing yourself is not selfish when you've been self-abandoning for years. And the reason you've been uneasy is because your spirit knows the next season requires different access. Not everyone who had access to your old life can come into your new life, because they don't have the capacity, or they don't have the honor, or they don't have the maturity. And God is not asking you to drag people into a future they keep resisting. So release the guilt. And now, we're going to seal this with a decision. Because January 12th, 13th, and 14th are about alignment. And alignment isn't just spiritual feelings, it's choices. So here are the choices, spoken plainly. On January 12th, you choose steadiness over reaction. On January 13th, you choose surrender over control. On January 14th, you choose silence over complaint. And when you do that, something opens. Because the enemy's almost depends on your leaks. Leaks of energy, leaks of words, leaks of focus, leaks of emotional reaction. But when you stop leaking, you become a vessel, watertight, ready, capable of carrying what God is sending. Now, I'm going to place a simple marker here, just a small action, nothing heavy, but it matters because it's agreement. If you feel this message is speaking directly to you, take 1 second and hit the like button. Not because you're trying to impress anyone, but as a tiny signal to your own spirit. I'm awake, I'm receiving, I'm aligned. And if you want to stay connected to messages like this, subscribe. Again, no pressure, no guilt, just alignment. Now stay with me, because in the next part, we're going to talk about the signs of protection you've already experienced. Times you were spared, times you were redirected, times you were covered and didn't realize it. And when you see how protected you've been, your fear will start to dissolve. Now we talk about protection, because one of the enemy's biggest lies has been this: you're on your own. He's tried to make you feel abandoned. He's tried to make you interpret silence as absence. He's tried to make you believe that because you struggled, you must not be covered. But listen closely. Some of the greatest protection you will ever experience looks like a delay, looks like a closed door, looks like a relationship ending, looks like a job not working out, looks like plans falling apart. And you didn't see it as protection at the time because it hurt. But if you could rewind your life and see what God kept you from, you would tremble. There were moments you thought were setbacks that were actually rescue. There were times you were disappointed and heaven was relieved. There were situations you wanted and God said, no, not to punish you, but to preserve you. So during this window, January 12th, 13th, and 14th, God is sharpening your discernment. You're going to start seeing clearer. You're going to start feeling the difference between peace and excitement, between anxiety and intuition, between a genuine opportunity and a shiny trap. And you need that clarity, because you're moving into a season where people will approach you differently. When you start rising, you attract attention. Some of it is blessing, some of it is distraction, and discernment is the filter. Now, let's talk about signs. Not a long list, not superstition. Just a few ways God often confirms He is near. You might notice repeating numbers at key moments, not because numbers are magic, but because God knows how to get your attention through patterns. You might hear a song at the exact moment you were about to give up, and the words land like a personal message. You might see a feather, randomly, unexpectedly, like a soft reminder that you're not alone. You might feel a sudden calm drop into your body in the middle of chaos, as if peace walked into the room and sat down beside you. Those are whispers, and you don't have to chase them. You just receive them. Now here's something specific for these dates. Pay attention to your dreams, not because every dream is prophecy, but because your spirit speaks in symbols when your mind is quiet. You might dream of an old house. That often points to a foundation, something you built your life on that needs repair, or something you need to leave behind. You might dream of a vehicle. That often speaks to movement, speed, direction, timing. You might dream of someone from your past, not because you need to go back, but because God is showing you what's still emotionally tethered. And here's the key. Don't rush to interpret everything. Just notice. Write it down if you can. Hold it gently and ask God for clarity. Now, I need to warn you about something that happens in protection seasons. The enemy will try to send voices, not necessarily demonic-looking anything, just people, opinions, messages, influences, content that sounds confident but leaves you anxious. This is why I said earlier, on January 13th especially, be careful who you talk to, because you're in a pivot. And when you're pivoting, you're vulnerable to outside steering. So here is the protection protocol. Keep your inner circle tight. Move quietly. Build without announcing everything. Not because you're hiding in fear, because you're protecting seed. A seed doesn't need applause. A seed needs soil. A seed needs covering. A seed needs time. And some people don't know how to handle what's growing in you, so they try to crush it with concern or jokes or advice. This is not the season to explain yourself to everyone. This is the season to let God establish you. Now, let me give you a picture of how protection works. Another small memory-style scene. You're about to leave the house. You're running late. You're frustrated because something slowed you down. Keys missing, traffic, a phone call, a random delay. You get in the car with that irritated energy thinking, of course this happens to me. But later you find out there was an accident on the road you would have been on, or something went wrong at the place you were rushing to, or a conversation you would have walked into would have pulled you into drama you didn't need. And suddenly you realize the delay wasn't sabotage, it was cover. That's how God has been protecting you. And during January 12th, 13th, and 14th, protection is active. Not because you're fragile, because you're transitioning. And transitions attract interference. So God places guardrails. Now I want to address something else. Some of you have felt spiritual gravity, like waking up heavy for no reason, like your body feels twice as tired, like your to-do list looks impossible, like your mind wants to shut down. That's not just physical, that's resistance. Because the enemy knows if he can get you to faint, you'll quit right before the due season. So on January 14th especially, you respond differently. You don't fight with volume, you fight with restraint. The weapon is not arguing. The weapon is not posting. The weapon is not venting. The weapon is silence, paired with faith. Silence doesn't mean you're powerless. Silence means you refuse to give the enemy data. It means you refuse to leak your strategy. It means you refuse to agree with defeat. So here is a simple practice for these days. When you feel provoked, pause. Put your tongue on the roof of your mouth for 1 second. Just one. Take a breath. And choose your next words like they are seeds, because they are. Life and death are in the tongue. And you are entering a window where words germinate fast. So speak carefully, speak gently, speak truthfully, speak hopefully, even if your feelings lag behind. Now before we move into the breakthrough part, I want you to notice something in your environment right now. Maybe the room feels warmer. Maybe you feel that chest pressure easing. Maybe your breathing is deeper than it was when this started. That shift is not just emotion, it's alignment. Your spirit knows when you're being guided, and you're being guided. So in the next part, I'm going to tell you what to expect on the other side of this window, what January 7th energy looks like for you, what begins moving, and how quickly the turnaround can happen. Stay with me. Don't scroll. Now we step through the gate. Because the whole point of January 12th, 13th, and 14th isn't just surviving a spiritual pressure season. It's crossing into a different trajectory. It's waking up and realizing the heaviness lifted. It's noticing you're not bracing the same way. It's seeing movement where there used to be delay. And I want to speak this over you with clarity. The breakthrough is not vague. It's not someday. It's not maybe in a few years. You have been in a long stretch of endurance, but now you're entering a short stretch of acceleration. So let's talk about the timeline your spirit has been craving. For many of you, within the next 7 days, something shifts in a tangible way. It might be a message, an offer, a door opening, a conversation that resolves something, a resource showing up, a new idea that feels like it drops into your mind fully formed. Clean, clear, and bold. And you'll know it's God, because it won't feel like panic. It will feel like peace with power. Some of you will experience a shift within 24 hours, an internal breakthrough before the external one. Because God often changes your inner world first, so you're ready to carry what's coming. You'll notice you're not reacting the same. You're not spiraling as fast. You're not as easily pulled into drama. You're calmer, more grounded, more decisive. And that internal change is not small. It's the foundation of the new life. Now let's talk about finances. Because I know that's where a lot of your warfare has been. Not because you're greedy, because you're tired. Tired of scraping. Tired of surprise expenses. Tired of doing the math and coming up short. Tired of being the responsible one while life keeps demanding more. The enemy attacked your money because money affects your choices, and your choices affect your calling. If he can keep you in survival mode, you'll be too exhausted to build. But this is what God is doing. He's not just giving you money. He's giving you margin. He's giving you stability. He's giving you provision that doesn't come with shame. And I want you to release the guilt around receiving. You are allowed to be provided for. You are allowed to breathe. You are allowed to have enough. You are allowed to build without panic. Now, some of you are going to see financial movement through unexpected channels. A connection, a favor, a new client, a refund, a saved expense, a door opening that you didn't qualify for on paper. And you'll be tempted to say, that's just luck. But you will know it's not luck, because it will arrive at the right time, right when you were about to give up. Now let's talk about relationships. After this window, you're going to notice something. Some people won't fit anymore, and that might make you sad at first, because you're loyal. You remember history. You give chances. You try to see the good, but you're also waking up to something. Access is earned, and not everyone has earned continued access to you. So yes, some people will drift. Some people will get weird. Some people will try to pull you back into the version of you they could control. Let them. You don't have to fight. You don't have to defend. You don't have to convince. You just keep walking. And God will also send covenant connections, people who don't drain you, people who don't confuse you, people who don't punish you for growing, people who feel like peace. And you will recognize them not by how impressed they are with you, but by how safe you feel around them. Now, I want to return to the image from earlier. Waking up on January 7th. Not the literal date for everyone, but the other side energy. You wake up, and the air feels different. There's a quietness in your chest. Not emptiness. Quiet. You check your phone and you don't feel dread. You look at your life and you still have responsibilities, yes, but you don't feel crushed by them, because the war in your nervous system calmed down. And that calm is not laziness, it's peace. And peace is power. Let me give you one last small scene, because I want you to carry this image with you. You're standing at a sink, washing a cup. Nothing dramatic, just normal life. But for the first time in a long time, your mind isn't racing. You're not replaying old conversations. You're not predicting worst-case scenarios. You're just there, present, breathing. And you suddenly realize, I'm okay. Not because everything is perfect, because you're not alone anymore, because you can feel God's covering, because you're not tethered to almost, because something snapped. That is the breakthrough. Now I'm going to bless you, plainly, directly, without complicated words. May your foundation be steady. May your mind be clear. May your sleep be restored. May your home be protected. May every attempt to provoke you fail. May every trap disguised as an opportunity be exposed. May every delay that was meant to discourage you become a testimony of protection. May the door God opened stay open. May what belongs to you find you quickly. May your heart stop bracing. May your spirit stop apologizing for existing. May your hands receive without guilt. May your mouth speak life without fear. And may the cycle of almost break completely, starting now. And here's the final instruction. Simple, but powerful. If you're claiming this shift, go to the comments and type, "I'm aligned." Not for me, for you. A marker, a seal, agreement. And if this message helped you, subscribe, because you're not meant to do this alone. You're not meant to fight alone. You're not meant to carry alone. Go in peace, go in power, and walk through these days with your head up. You are chosen, you are loved, and you are covered.